Well, I'm Deidre Sarabia, and I'm very glad
No Irish accent.
and you guys read the KTAC blog or join us on Facebook? Because you're going to have to tag yourself. We'll take a picture here. We do a great blog at tprclassical.org and have been posting up videos of the Beethoven Festival, and it's been amazing. We've already had lots of events with Camerata, San Antonio, piano competition, and we're all, I think, really excited about having the Beethoven symphonies here in San Antonio, the complete cycle. And I guess I would start out asking about how you ended up pairing these symphonies, because it's not strictly numerical. Obviously, you will end with Beethoven 9 and do an actual separate performance of Beethoven's 9. But how did you end up coming up with the programming of A, Beethoven, and B, the pairing of the symphonies?
Well, Beethoven is not the brightest idea to pick Beethoven, because actually I think Beethoven picks us. We don't pick Beethoven. After the Tchaikovsky cycle, I thought we need something of an equivalent, if not greater impact. And the first choice is Beethoven. It's very courageous, I think, to do that as a music director if you're fairly new to your symphony. So it shows that I have a lot of confidence in my players going to such an undertaking, because it is an undertaking. It is a challenge for any orchestra, no matter on what level they are, no matter how big their budget is, to play the Beethoven symphonies, because Beethoven is very, very unforgiving. More unforgiving than anybody else in terms of if you don't give 150%, it doesn't really do it. Even nice, clean, the problem is it's not nice, clean playing wouldn't do it. Even if your perfection doesn't do it with Beethoven. You can get away with this with a lot of music, not with Beethoven. And also you have to develop a statement that is new. So it is a huge challenge. The second question, why in this order, is do you want the long and very philosophical and profound? Do you want a very simple?
I imagine in the public radio world, we'll go for a balance between the simple and the philosophical, perhaps.
Well, okay, good. Then I start with the philosophical. You can group you can divide the symphonies into two groups: the uneven and the odd numbers and the even numbers. Well, that is actually simple, but it's actually quite profound as well, because when you see these symphonies and how they are in his work, the odd numbers are the rebellion pieces, the ones that revolutionize most the style of symphony writing, the ones that are usually with the most struggle and the most force and the most courageous new inventions. If I go backwards, that's of course number 9. Nobody ever wrote a symphony of that length and introducing the human voice. And it's number 3, of course, because nobody ever wrote a symphony of 50 minutes at this point of time. And it's of course number 5, because nobody ever wrote a symphony based on 2 notes. And it's of course number 7, because nobody ever... I love that. 7 is just, as Karl Maria von Weber said, the famous German composer, must be music written by a madman. This last movement would be, I mean, if hip-hoppers or ravers really know what to dance to, I would pick this movement, cheer it up, squeeze it up a little bit, add a little bit of techno quality to it. It has everything to replace ecstasy. Now, and 1 is the first, and already he starts with something very, very interesting in the beginning, presenting 2 chords that leave you with no idea where he wants to go from there, because it's very far from the original key. So these are the odd numbers. The even numbers are the more playful, the more entertaining, sometimes the more theoretical and the more introvert pieces, not so extrovert as the others. A great example is number 6, the Pastoral Symphony, which is not about power, except of the store maybe, but it's about feelings, and very introvert feelings. 4 was very theoretical, very playful though. 2 is very humorous piece, very Haydn, extremely lively. And 8 again is a reflection onto all of this, almost like a neoclassical symphony, because he has been in the Romantic era already, and then he goes back to 8. So this is the division, which leads to the fact that, of course, the more powerful pieces are always in the second half, so they don't dominate the other ones. So we end up 3, 5, 7, 9 for 4 concerts. So now comes the very simple answer: why do I start? Well, why do I start with 1? Because it's the first symphony. Why don't, the only difference in order is why do I not put 2 in the first concert? Then it would be a perfect chronological order. So it's 1, 3, and then it's 2, 4, 5. The simple thing is, would be too long.
Well, good.
Because 3 is a long symphony, 5 is a short one, so we rather have 3 symphonies, 3 shorter symphonies in one program than 1 long and 2, yeah, so it would make it just a lot. So it's very practical.
1 is good.
And also, but it's not only this, because 1 and 2 are too similar to pair them. While 2 and 4 are extremely different from each other, so if you listen to them in one half, it is still a huge contrast.
And so you're adding Coriolan to the first, that sort of adds to the
off.
Okay.
Libation time. Prost.
So this is, Coriolan is to start the festival off and also to set a certain marker here. I think it's a very strong, one of the strong overtures, one of the very strong overtures, and one that tells a lot about Beethoven's character. You know, this enormous power and unforgiveness that you'll find in this overture. And it has this enormous, this great start. It's just like, it's just there and makes this huge statement. So it's a very symbolic piece, I think, to start the cycle.
If you've been coming in, there are actually some more seats up here if you want to not stand. And there's a couple on the row here, just offhand. Maestro, you were talking when you were starting there and talking about Beethoven, and to me, there was nothing. It's like sometimes humor is unexpected, and certainly there was humor before. There was lots of scherzos, and Haydn had certainly a wicked sense of humor musically, even one of Beethoven's teachers. And I think what strikes me, especially with Beethoven, is that there are these accents that you don't expect. And he forces you, I'm a fiddle player, and I know sometimes it's really hard. It would be something that I wouldn't expect to happen, and I think for me, that's one of the things that really stands out. I was listening to rehearsal today in Coriolan and some of the third, and there are all sort of these odd things that jump out, and there's sort of things that you like to bring out and see, this sort of humor and odd brashness that happens with Beethoven that I don't think ever came as powerful before.
No, the accents, or as musicians would say, especially for Beethoven, is sforzati, you know, that's actually, you can write a book about this, because the way Beethoven uses them, or some would say abuses them. In the third symphony, I don't know, someone must have counted them. They are, I mean, there are so many of these accents, and they are in all places rhythmically, like going completely against the rhythmical structure to the degree that you don't hear the metrical structure anymore like it's supposed to be in a bar. The bar 3/4 disappears with these accents that completely destroy the structure. Again, here comes the political composer, Beethoven, who, by using a 3/4, which is the most danceable metric bar form, it represents a little bit the chord of minuet. Menuets are in the 3/4. So by using this in a first movement, first of all, it's very rare. Never, you don't see that actually. That the first movement is written in the 3/4. It's usually in a 4/4 or in alla breve. I can talk these terms. You are all.
Yes.
Okay, so so by using this, he's using a dance metron, and then he smashes completely the idea of dance and of chord behavior, you know, contained and by killing the menuet. If there was a hint of a menuet, he's killing it with the first 2 bars. And it's basically what it is the French Revolution coming into Vienna, destroying and chasing away the aristocrats and fighting for a sort of democracy or something at least that leads to it. I don't know if people at the time realized that, but those who were intelligent enough, I think, sure did. And that goes, of course, with the dedication to Napoleon that took away because Napoleon called himself Emperor of France. But he admired his reforms and his achievements, and that he brought the French Revolution to the rest of Europe. And then, of course, Restoration happened, as we know, and everything went backwards. It's like nothing is so different from the start of the 19th century than from the start of the 21st century. We are in this kind of funny time of restoration where you think, we have achieved all that and now we want to go backwards again. It's usually in the first decade of any century starting, you find the same odd habits. And Beethoven is a person of the start of the century. That's why he is so modern and so close to us, and we can understand him so well because it's the same thinking in certain ways.
Those emotions are still around, tyranny, war, all that sort of things. We are excited. The first concerts for the symphony are tomorrow and Saturday. I hear that Saturday is filling up, almost sold out, but there are still seats Friday, which is pretty exciting. If we were in Vienna or Berlin, I would expect a Beethoven cycle every couple of years maybe, or certainly quite a few of them. It happens. I think Chicago's recently done some Beethoven, and LA, I think it's something that you just did in Tasmania. And it's, I think, special that we're actually hearing all the piano sonatas. We just heard all the cello sonatas. How was it for you? How was it in Tasmania to go through and do all these great emotional things and have your orchestra now be able to repeat it here?
Well, it was my farewell to Tasmania, the Tasmanian Symphony Orchestra. Tasmania is not Tanzania, you know. We don't have zebras and lions. We have kangaroos and wallabies and Tasmanian devils. That's the most fearsome creature. So this is in Australia. I've been chief conductor there for 8 years. Great orchestra, great band, and that was my farewell to them. And cool as I am, we did the 9 Beethoven symphonies within 10 days. So you can imagine. Well, they are now on vacation. You know, it's something on vacation, but it was a huge honor. It was just sheer survival strategy. But what it does with you is amazing. I mean, and at the end of Beethoven life, everybody was in tears. Was it because I was leaving, or was it just because I had to leave? I don't know. But it was a phenomenal experience, and it does something with you, not only with the musician, but I think also with the audience. When you experience Beethoven, it's always the most important. No wonder that Karajan recorded 3 cycles of the Beethoven symphonies. He didn't do that with other works. He only did that with Beethoven in certain times of his career. Started another cycle, and another cycle, and another cycle. And he could always come back to Beethoven. There's no way out.
Who's going to be joining you? I know the master singers are going to be in the night. Do you know who are the soloists for this one?
I have no idea. Yeah, very, very happy to announce that we have Greer Grimsley. I don't know if you know Greer Grimsley, but he's definitely the most exciting bass baritone that this country has. One of the best botans, and I'm going to show you when he starts overthrowing diese Töne, the walls of the majestic shape. You should not miss him. He's stunning. I've done Flying Dutchman with him, and I love him to death. So, and we have Chet Shelton, Texas tenor, great voice. He sang in the Pops concert with me, but which doesn't mean that he's a pop singer. He's really a true treasure. So you're going to hear some really exciting soloists and the master singer, and also Minus, of course, always a great piece to finish the cycle. Well, that's the way it is, right? That's the way it's composed.
Oh yeah, definitely. And then I guess I might end talking about bringing all the different groups together. I mean, obviously last year the idea of doing Tchaikovsky Festival with wonderful performances from Camerata and with one of your soloists, and being in a very concise time, and then also Musical Bridges doing some Tchaikovsky and some wonderful ballet. It was, I think, brilliant to have all these other groups come through and celebrate Beethoven.
And actually, it's the community. It's about the community. It's about that the symphony is part of the community, and we can be a catalyst for other groups to do exciting and great things and bring them all together under one umbrella. You know, one has to have the starting idea, and then it can grow. And I think this is a principle we want to nourish in the future, because I think all performing arts groups, whatever they do, small or big, are very, very important and vital to this city. Only a healthy city, or healthy cities and great cities, with great orchestras, with great chamber groups, and I think San Antonio has that. So it's a celebration of the performing arts in general.
In 2 weeks, we're showing at the Texas Public Radio at Santikos Bijou Theater there. At one we're showing a film of Clockwork Orange.
Oh.
Have you seen this? Do you know this one?
Of course I've seen that. Glad you're showing that, because there, for example, about Beethoven, there are so many really revolting films that are, I mean, one of the worst ones, I think, is Copying Beethoven. Has absolutely not the slightest historic background. And if you look at, I mean, it's always, you have a genius like Beethoven and you make him a ridicule in a movie. I think this is, with all freedom of the arts, I think that's when you're crossing the line, you know? And that's always very difficult. I mean, I love the film Amadeus. It's also doing the same thing, but with a distance, and yet you're not taking it too seriously. And yes, it shows something off about Mozart that was actually very, very true. But the film makes it very clear from the very beginning it is fiction and doesn't hide it. But when then Copying Beethoven tries to make us believe that there was this girl and then she's, you know. And then
there are far better with Beethoven and women stories than what they
but it is very hard, I think, Beethoven to capture Beethoven because it's a giant as a personality. That's why I tell you, actually, when you conduct the 9 Beethoven symphonies, you should live in a monastery and don't talk to anyone. That's what I wish to do, you know, because your head is full constantly with this music. There's no way you can think about anything else, actually, for a while. And that goes on now for me for the last 2 months already. You know. I don't like having done it. It doesn't mean at all that I'm now doing it again. It's like a routine. I come back to the same piece a month later, and I get sometimes the feeling I'm just here and I haven't even reached where I want to go with this piece. So it's quite daunting experience, I think. So
Well, we really appreciate you coming out tonight and sharing a little bit about Beethoven. And thank you very much. We're all looking forward tomorrow night at the Majestic. All of the events with all 11 groups are at sasymphony.org/Beethoven Festival. And we have links there. We've been posting HD links, and we'll have some video from tonight's at tprclassical.org. But thank you so much, Sebastian.
Thank you.